This is E&P Reports, a service of Editor and Publisher magazine. Since 1884, the authoritative voice of news publishing. And hello again, Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P magazine. And I am honored today to have the valuable time of Walter E. Hussman Jr. Many of you know who Mr. Hussman is, Walter. I mean, he was E&P's Publisher of the Year back in 2008. He was indicted into the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame. He's inducted into North Carolina Media and Journalism Hall of Fame. There is a journalism school named after his family. And he is the owner and president of WeCo Media, the parent company of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, who in the last 2 years made one of the most major decisions, I believe, in the history of newspapers. Decided to stop printing the print publication, provide the same news quantity and quality digitally, and in order to maintain their circulation, purchase expensive products, iPads, and give them to their readership. And by doing their pro formas, they could maintain profitability. In other words, shutting down that press, shutting down those distribution costs, helped him maintain the jobs in his newsroom so he could do what's the most important function we do, which is generate news. So we're going to check in with Walter and, of course, get an update on how the last year has been with this exciting and innovative and challenging project of converting a print population into a digital world. We're also going to ask him his opinions on the nonprofit moves of some newspapers, how he feels about paid content from the Google and Facebook world, and where he's at in our sustainability as an industry. It's a fascinating dialogue, and I urge you to stay with us through the entire conversation. So let's get to work as I go one-on-one in Arkansas with Walter E. Hussman Jr. Well, Walter, I am honored to have you on E&P Reports today. That is a beautiful living room behind you, sir.
Thanks. I'm in our family room, and that's our fireplace back there.
I'm thinking of writing a book about all the different people I've interviewed in their personal homes now because of COVID-19. My favorite was Ken Doctor, who did it in his kitchen in a white T-shirt. So I figured if he can do that, we can do it. Well, thank you so much. We're here, obviously, to chat with you about how your iPad press reader project is going. But before I do that, I'd like to first ask you how you feel about the industry as a whole during this crisis. How are you faring up out there in Arkansas? And give us like a lay of the land. How's COVID hit you guys there? How's your advertising base doing? And how's your team doing? How are you getting through this?
Right. Yeah, well, advertising's taken a major hit, as I think it has most places around the country. In March, we had a couple $100,000 of advertising canceled in Little Rock. But we actually still made a profit in March despite that. And that's a result of the digital replica. April was worse. We're down about 49% in advertising. May was a little better, down 42%. hard to say, a little better, down 42%. But so it's been very, very difficult from an advertising standpoint. But you can understand the advertisers. Many of them are closed, and why advertise if you're closed, and or you're extremely difficult to do business. So the amazing thing to me, though, is the quality of our newspaper, our news report, and our opinions, et cetera. I really have a hard time telling any difference now as before the pandemic crisis. Most of our people are working remotely, and I thought that would be a big problem. The quality of reporting is just about as high as it ever has been, and so that surprised me that we're able to do that, and that's encouraging because we're so dependent now on subscription revenues.
I interviewed Jay Small from the local media association in one of these podcasts, and we had a joke going that every time he said the word new normal, we were supposed to take a drink, because he kept saying new normal, new normal. Is this your new normal? Would you be looking to have less commercial space for your team and have more people operate remotely? Is that something you might be thinking of?
I don't think so. We might, who knows? But I think there's a certain amount of camaraderie and interaction that goes on in a newsroom and collaboration. And so I think that's beneficial. So I think we'd all like to get people back into the newsroom when we can.
Excellent. So let's talk about the big project that you started. Correct me if I'm wrong. It started last year. Well, you did a pilot first. You tried to launch back in 2018 in Blytheville, if I remember, right?
Yeah, that was like around February, March of 2018. And when that proved successful, we spent the rest of 2018 doing this in multiple communities, and then spent all of 2019 doing it and finished up. Originally, we had planned to finish up 63 counties by December, and because of the tremendous response we had, it didn't finish up till January or February of this year.
Well, let's give those that may be tuning in for the first time, haven't heard about the project. The Arkansas Democrat-Gazette is a statewide newspaper. Of course, Little Rock is your home, but that's also the capital of the state, correct? So
Right.
you are a statewide newspaper distributed all over the state. You made the decision after how many years in your family, this publication, to cut back your print frequency to 1 day a week. And what was the magic day that you did that last year?
Well, we originally, basically, when we looked at our budget for 2018, we realized we were going to lose money for the first time in a couple of decades. And it was because of this tremendous drop in advertising revenue in newspapers all over the United States. And so we just thought, we've got to come up with some other solution. And so most newspapers had drastic cuts in their newsrooms and their news space. And we didn't want to do that. We thought to do that would not be a good business model and eventually would fail. And so instead of that, we decided to keep the same amount of people in our newsroom and the same amount of news space, but try to eliminate other costs like newsprint and distribution costs, carrier subsidies, production costs. And so to do that, we decided, well, first of all, we knew about 4,000 of our subscribers read the paper every day on a tablet, mostly iPads, but also Samsung Galaxies, and they love the experience. And many of them told us, I read the paper, the print edition for decades, and I thought I'd never give it up, but I really like this better.
All right, that's not to interrupt you. That's 4,000 out of how many total subscribers?
Probably statewide, which I would include the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette too. That's a separate publication in 12 counties that carries a lot of the same national and international content as the Democrat-Gazette. We probably had close to 100,000 home delivery subscribers.
So 4% were comfortable with you digitally. Were they all young, millennial, hip people?
No, they were all ages.
All ages.
Yeah. So I remember when we first started it with Press Reader, I got an email from a fellow named Jim Argue, who's now deceased, but he was about as old as I am. He'd probably be in his 70s today. And he sent me an email and said, I've started reading your paper on my iPad. He said, this is the best thing since sliced bread. We didn't even try to sell him. He just discovered it. It was just something we offered, and we didn't really promote it much.
Based on your conversation, I saw you speak at the mega conference. We at ENP just launched today, which is coincidental, our version of our replica version, and it's Press Reader. We decided to go with the app and the online version based on the experience you were saying that your readers had with it. There you go, Press Reader. You got a free commercial on this podcast. But so then, based on the fact that everybody was enjoying the experience of all different ages, those 4,000, you made a critical decision. You said, okay, rather than cut back on people, let's cut back on print. That was the big decision.
Yeah, and I think the best way to understand this is to think about the customer, think about the subscriber. So in Blytheville, Arkansas, 183 miles from Little Rock, we had 200 7-day-a-week subscribers. And so if we'd done what they did in Oklahoma City or Des Moines or many of these other towns that eliminated statewide distribution, those people wouldn't have been able to get our paper.
Right.
And I thought, is it better just to stop giving them the paper and reduce our losses? Or if we could continue giving them the paper, but in a different form on a digital replica, would that be better for them? And the answer was obviously yes, if they had agreed to do that and they found it acceptable. So we felt somewhat of an obligation to try to continue to serve those subscribers if they really wanted our product.
Not have a news desert, but in turn make sure those communities. And I'm assuming you, like me, believe that our founding fathers had some imperfect men created a perfect document that gave the press a very integral part in our society. If there wasn't someone delivering news in that county, they would have no one watching out for their interests.
There's no question. And of course, I would wonder what they would think today when so many people get so much information that is disinformation or misinformation.
Right.
And whereas newspapers still try to curate and edit and provide accurate information to the best of their ability.
All right. So you made the decision to then, did you cut the circulation first? I mean, the print circulation, or did you start the town visits first? How did you make this transition, and how many initial iPads did you purchase? And for those of that are listening only to this podcast, my apologies, but I'm now going to pop up a picture, that famous picture of you, for those that are watching us on YouTube, of you standing in front of those boxes and boxes of iPads. What was the original number that you purchased of iPads?
Well, actually, the original number we purchased was 200 in Blytheville. And basically, we went to Blytheville, and we tried this 3 different times in Blytheville, and the first 2 times failed. All right. And the third time, we basically decided for this to succeed, we've got to give people an iPad. We had it down to where the iPad was only costing them $49 and no commitment, no contract. We still only got 4 out of 200 subscribers. But when we offered it free, we got 140 subscribers, 70%.
All right.
And so once we got 70% of our subscribers, we sat down and did something very, very important. I'd encourage every newspaper in America to do. And any decision like this or any other decision, we sat down and did a pro forma income statement. And we said, okay, if 70% of all the subscribers in Arkansas would continue to subscribe at their current rates, or rates that would get them to $34. We were averaging $29 to $30, and we thought we could get to $34. If we could get 70% of our home delivery subscribers to subscribe at $34, could we be profitable? We eliminate all the printing, we eliminate all the carrier distribution and everything. And the answer was yes. Actually, we can go from being unprofitable to profitable. So is it better to have only 70% of our home delivery customers and none of our single copy? Again, advertising's continuing to go down. Our future is not in advertising. Our future's in subscriptions. So the answer was, hey, it's better for us to be profitable and sustainable, even with less circulation. And so that's the decision we made. Now, so originally, we didn't offer any Sunday edition in print. It was just 7 days digital. And it went on for about 5 or 6 communities like that. And we tried different things. We even tried in one community say, we're having trouble providing everybody an iPad, but we'll lease you an iPad. And we'll lease it to you for $9.95 a month. That was less than it was costing us, but we wanted to keep it under $10. We got 43%. We went back to our pro forma income statement. Can we make money with 43%? The answer is no. Okay, so we sent a letter to them, forget about paying the rent, keep your iPads, And so it was only in about the 5th or 6th community we went into, we said, let's try something new. Let's offer people the Sunday print edition along with the digital replica 7 days a week. See if we can increase that 70%. And we did, and we got 80%.
Wow.
What did we do? We went back to the pro forma income statement. And we said, okay, if we get 80%, which is higher, but now we have the cost of printing the Sunday paper and delivering the Sunday paper and the carrier's cost, et cetera, can we still make money? And the answer was, yes, we can make a little more money.
Wow.
So listen, I think a big mistake I'm afraid many newspapers make is they say, let's do what that other newspaper's doing down the road. You need to do what you're going to do based on a pro forma income statement. Because if you can't be profitable under your assumptions, why are you doing it?
Now,
You know?
so basically, you incubated in a couple of markets, watched the numbers, made sure they were working for you, failed fast, failed cheap, if I may use that. I mean, when it didn't work, you changed, and changed. And once you had the proper model, you just started replicating it around the state. And that's the way you went, correct?
That's right.
And you hosted events for people. You actually went in and rented hotel rooms and had people come in?
Well, what we just kind of out of desperation and Blytheville, the first time we tried this, we went door to door and showed people that they could see it on digital replica and asked them if they would do that. And they said, no, I'd really rather get the print edition. That probably wasn't a very good experiment. Second time, we offered this deal where, with a promotion with AT&T, it cut the cost of the iPad to $49. That failed. So really, the third attempt was, okay, let's throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at this to see if it'll work. We offered them an $800 iPad Pro because with an iPad Pro, the width of the newspaper is the width of the iPad. All you got to do is scroll up and see the rest of the page. Let's offer incredible customer service where we will sit down with every single subscriber and hand them their iPad and show them how to use the iPad and show them that the newspaper's app is already on there and how they can use the app to read the paper, all the features that are on the app. And so they said, that's going to be really expensive. And I said, and they also said, our people said, $800 iPad? I mean, how are we going to afford that? And I said, look, this is 200 people. If this fails, then we're not going to do it anywhere else. It's just going to be a failure and it won't work. One of the communities we went to after Blytheville, we took the regular size iPad, the $350 iPad. We got 70% there. So it turned out we didn't need the big iPad.
There you go.
In fact, a lot of the women said they preferred the regular size iPad because they could get that one in their purse.
Right.
They couldn't get the big one in their purse. So, you've got to experiment and try things and see what works and what doesn't work and then pursue what does work.
So where are we today? How many subscribers do you have now on iPads that you have provided? And you're doing once a week now a print edition. And is that statewide as well? Do you get that?
We're still not in those first 5 or 6 communities where we didn't offer the Sunday print edition. We may go back into there.
Okay.
But we're still offering this to new subscribers, our existing subscribers, and until we do. So we have now the Little Rock paper is the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Right.
And it's it's 63 counties, most of the state. But then Northwest Arkansas, which is a booming area, has Walmart and Tyson Foods and J.B. Hunt. It's the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. It carries a lot of the national, international news in both papers, but they have their own editor. They've got their own ad director. They've got their own circulation manager. The own president runs the operation. So their paper has their own local news, their own advertising, et cetera. So that's really a different animal. When I said we had 100,000 home delivery at one time, it was for both papers. Today, originally we had about 40,000 home delivery subscribers when we initially, converted everyone. That was out of about 45,000 subscribers, home delivery subscribers. Today we have about 34,000. We've lost about 5,000 over 2 years, and we haven't had a big emphasis on selling new customers. So any newspaper has got natural attrition. People die, people move out of state, people just stop subscribing to the newspaper for one reason or another. So you've got to constantly be selling new subscriptions. Our big emphasis has been on converting people, not selling new subscriptions. So we're going to have to do more of that to replace some of the people that we've lost. The interesting thing about those 34,000, about 27,500 of them we've given iPads. We said, what about the rest of them? A lot of those other people said, I don't want an iPad. I've already got an iPad. I've already got my photos and my music and my books, and they don't want to go through all that.
Or they're comfortable watching it on this thing.
Yeah, that's right.
They're just more apt to be on one device than have a separate device.
And some people said, hey, I already read the paper in a digital way on the digital replica on my laptop, and I prefer that. So that surprised us. We didn't realize. So we've kept those people as full paying subscribers. And some of our subscribers have just said, I've never done anything digitally and I don't want to. I just want the Sunday paper. So we charge subscription for the Sunday papers $32 a month, and it's $34 a month for 7 days.
There you go.
So you said, why 32 and 34? Well, the Audit Bureau Circulation now that has the Alliance for News Media, I can't remember their name.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you have to have a 5% price differential.
Exactly.
And people will say, well, why are you charging me $32 for only the Sunday paper and $34 if I get it every day? And I said, because I've got to get 70% of my customers to pay me $34. So you're a customer. Whether you take it Sunday only, you take it every day, I've got to get most of that revenue. I've got to get that revenue so I can do the journalism that you expect and you need and you deserve in a quality newspaper. And
so
most people understand and accept that.
So you did expand this now into Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, so now we've moved into Northwest Arkansas, and we had a different challenge in Northwest Arkansas because the competition in Little Rock ended in 1991. That's a long time ago, almost 30 years ago. Competition ended in Northwest Arkansas much more recently, maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Right.
So the subscription prices in competition get driven to unbelievably low levels.
Right.
And so we had been able to raise those, and we used Mather and all the usual techniques. We'd gotten the subscription price up to around $19 to $20 a subscriber.
Okay.
So we did the pro forma. Remember the pro forma?
Right.
That doesn't work at $19 to $20 a subscriber. You got to get $34 a subscriber. Okay. So how are we going to do this in Northwest Arkansas? So, okay, let's take a test market. We went to Harrison, Arkansas.
Right.
Kind of about 15,000 people. We went to Harrison and said, look, we just can't get this done. I know you've all heard about it in the rest of the state. We just can't do this for $19 to $20. We got to get $34. So here's the deal. We'll work with you if you'll work with us. We will raise your subscription price $1 per subscriber per month. If you're at $20, it's going to take you 14 months to get to the full price. If you're at $17, it's going to take you almost a year and a half to get the full price. But we'll go ahead and give you the iPad now.
Oh, okay.
And we'll go ahead and start this. And it's amazing. We have got in Harrison, right now, we've got 78% of the people who've converted. And actually, we've lost a few since we did this.
And with that slow increase in price going on.
That low increase, step up in price.
How long ago did you start that in that market?
We started it in January.
All right, so now you're 6 months in, and you're really seeing the numbers work for you. You're holding about 80% of them.
Yeah.
You gave them the iPad up front.
Right.
And have you decreased the print frequency in that market? Are you
it's the same thing. They get the Sunday print edition.
Sunday only.
That's it.
And is it just that market now, or are you going to expand that into Bentonville and all the other?
Oh no, we've already expanded it. We've gone into Fort Smith area, right. Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers. We're pretty much we still work in the Rogers area. That's a town, right. One of the towns. Bentonville, we've just gotten a good start there. We figure we'll finish this sometime probably in August, late next month.
And basically what you did is you said, well, a crisis creates change. Right. If I may put words in your mouth, your crisis, that we're not discussing COVID now, your crisis was for the first time in decades, you weren't profitable. And you had to make a decision between your core competency of generating news, or you could just slice and burn your staff like I don't want to mention other companies have been doing, or you could just change the model. I mean, like Gutenberg invented movable type. You said maybe it's time for us to publish digitally as our core product, and it
Yeah.
seems to be working for you.
So let me mention why there's been a big push towards nonprofit news, and that's great. I'm happy about that. I hope it works. I listen to NPR too. And it's nonprofit, but to me, the greatest economic model ever devised to sustain an entity is for it to make a profit. Because as long as an entity makes a profit, someone will want to continue it year after year.
There you go.
If it doesn't make a profit, if it's a nonprofit, it's going to depend on philanthropy, and I hope it works. But we've seen over and over in economic downturns where philanthropy dries up some,
Sure.
and I worry about that. So I feel like it's incumbent on us to try to figure out some profitable model. We'll never make the kind of profits newspapers previously made, but if we can make enough profits so that if we have a major capital expenditure, and usually the big one that comes along now that people don't buy printing presses anymore, is to replace the roof. Do you have enough money to replace the roof? We've already confronted situations in our company when we have to replace the roof and we just aren't making enough money to do it.
I hear you.
So anyway, so that to me is why it's so important for the entity to make some profit. And of course, we have a profit sharing plan, so we share our profits with our employees, helps motivate them, helps motivate me too. I'm part of the plan. So anyway, I think that's a good thing. Now, let me mention a couple other things. People have realized they need to move to digital, And so what typically newspapers have done is they've gone from a print format and a printed product. Those are two different things, the print product and the print format. And they go to digital they go from print to digital, but then they go from the print format to a scrolling website. And that's not the print format.
I hear you.
So those newspapers have asked people to make two changes, to go from print to digital and to go from a print format to a rolling website format. We didn't. We asked people to go from print to digital, but to stay with the exact format they were comfortable with, they were used to. They knew where to find the sports section. They knew where to find the business section. They knew where the obituaries were. Everything was in the exact same place. It was the exact same format that they were used to. I think that's been part of our success also.
And even a millennial or a generation RZP, whatever you want to call them, understands that when they hit your website, it may look a little different from another website, but that is your core way of delivering the content.
No, actually, we also have a website too, and it looks very much like a lot of other people's websites. We're trying to appeal to that younger generation with that website.
So you got both formats running.
We've got both of them, and they're both on our same app. When you go to our app, either on the phone or on the iPad, you're going to see both the digital replica and you're going to see the scrolling website.
Well, to full disclosure, I just want to let you know that's exactly the decision we made here at E&P. You will see the latest print edition on top. We did the press reader model. Then our headlines are all scrollable right below it. And I think that is the best way to go, an either or way of delivery. And it's working. But and full disclosure as well, let's be very clear. Your print format online has a lot extra bells and whistles. I can take my fingers and enlarge something. I can press a photo and instantly watch a video play. I can, any email that's embedded in content, even the ads, automatically becomes a link. The hyperlinks are there. So it's not just this, scrolling a PDF on the internet. It's the print format in steroids. Don't you agree? It's a fun way to read it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in Blytheville, when we first, about 6 weeks after, we'd converted everyone, we went back and did a survey, a simple survey, 7 questions, and asked them, we wondered, do you like this better, the same, or worse than your print newspaper? And we were really surprised. Most people said they liked it better.
Of course.
So that was a surprise. We thought maybe they'll just accept this as a substitute, and if they do, then that's fine. But they actually liked it better. So then we asked, why do you like it better? The number one thing they like better is take those two fingers, spread their fingers apart, and the type gets bigger, and they take off their reading glasses, so that's the most popular. But, we worked with Press Reader to come up with the idea of taking a photograph in the newspaper and turning it into a video, or, hitting a button and you see videos of the same story, or seeing photo galleries. People really like that. It helps tell the story better. It tells the story more completely than if you just have a single photo. And, the fact that people can get the paper anywhere. I mean, people have told me, hey, I was on a cruise out in the Caribbean. I read the Democrat-Gazette every day. And when I got home, I didn't have all those papers stacked up. And I didn't have to go back and reread all of that stuff. And so anyway, there's just a whole lot, people can access our archives. You can save up to, this was a real surprise, you can save up to 60 editions on your iPad. So you can go back to yesterday, the day before. That was one of the 7 questions we asked. Do you ever go back and look at a previous edition? So we thought maybe that'd be about 5% of the people might say they looked at a previous edition. It was 40%. Yeah. 40% looked at previous. I was pretty stunned. But you think about that. I've had so many times people say, hey, did you see that article in the paper the other day? And somebody'd say, I didn't see that. Actually, I've thrown my paper out now.
A good portion of our content is evergreen content. And that's one of the first things I noticed. Remember, I was digitally consulting back in 98, 99, how amazingly popular our archives were. People don't just, I know if it bleeds, it leads, and you got a headline for a day's story, but there's a lot of stuff people want to go back and reference. This one way, it's making it easy for everybody to find all your content. We don't have much more time. You've already covered, I have 4 questions for you. You've covered 2. When I'm talking to the successful publishers now on this platform, they're all saying the same thing you're saying. They're saying how we're becoming successful. I had a newspaper that grew their circulation during these tough times. It said it's by going back to the core competency of generating quality content. Can I just make sure you're all on board with that, correct? That is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's mission 1.
If you don't, you're not gonna make it.
Now, this is when I want to bring up something that's near at the heart. And thank you for your personal email to me. I did an editorial, about a month ago, and you sent me an email reminding me of your mission statement, which I now have a copy on my desk. I want you to know that, because it may. Could you quickly run down again? I know you most probably have it memorized. I'm going to pop it up for those on YouTube. But what is in there that makes it so special, that keeps your team all aligned on delivering that content?
Well, I could tell this happened about 3 years ago, and I could see so many people in the media were moving away from the idea of impartial, objective, fair, honest reporting, and they were trying to almost virtually editorialize for news. There's a place for editorials and a place for news. So, when I heard a prominent journalist talking about this, I thought, I want to make sure our readers don't believe that we believe what they believe. So how do we do that? Well, we need to tell people what we do believe. So we drafted this statement of core values, and it's short, but it runs on page 2 of all 10 of our daily newspapers every day. And first, we took Adolph Ox, who came up from Chattanooga and bought the New York Times in the 1890s. And he said to give the news impartially without fear or favor. Exactly. So first we tried to define what impartiality means and how that's so important. We talked about that impartiality is the key to credibility. Credibility is probably the greatest asset any newspaper has, both for retaining subscribers and providing a format where advertisers want to advertise, as we're seeing with this boycott from Facebook. A lot of people don't feel like it's a credible place to put their ads. We talk about the separation of news and opinion. We talk about the fact that our reporters may think they know what the story is when they go into it, but we know from experience a lot of times when they get into it, it's different than they thought. So you got to follow the story wherever it leads. And so anyway, those core values are so important. And I went to school at the University of North Carolina, and they were doing a big fund drive, and I said, I think if you will emphasize that your journalism school believes in those core values, it probably help you in raising funds, because people watch the news today or look at the news and they say, what are they teaching in journalism schools today?
Yeah.
And of course, so basically they ended up saying, well, we like those, and why don't we name the journalism school for your family, And I said, well, if and only if you adopt that statement of core values. And they embraced it. And actually the board of trustees, the chairman, told me when they had to approve the naming of the school, they said, we really liked those core values.
That's amazing, because that separation of news and opinion is one of the reasons I'm so proud to be part of this industry. And I watch it just fall apart on all, and I'm not going left or right on this. And this is my personal, it doesn't matter if you're watching Fox or CNN or MSNBC. Yeah. There's such a blur there now that you don't even know what you're getting. And then they start interviewing each other. And it's just not, I mean, it's just not Fred Friendly. It's not Edward R. Murrow. It's not Walter Cronkite. It's not.
And what is a contributor? You hear they all have. I had a contributor I read where one of the contributors got $600,000 a year for being a contributor.
Exactly. I mean,
I mean, if I ran one of the cable news networks, when there was a news show up there, I would put news up in one of the corners and keep it there for the whole show. And then when it's an opinion show, like say a Tucker Carlson or exactly. One of the ones on CNN, I put opinion up there.
Or maybe, in my humble opinion, and doing a / entertainment, you get to a point where it's almost ridiculous. Right. Now, I was going to ask you your opinion on nonprofit status. You already did that for me. Thank you. Yeah. Final opinion I'd like to get from you, sir, because you are Publisher of the Year. You're someone that we're all looking towards. How do you feel about this Facebook, Google paying for content thing? That's, you got LMA taking a lot of money from Facebook and Google. They're throwing millions of dollars at us. You've got, people lobbying in DC. Where do you stand on these social media sites or search engine social media? How should I say, monetizing our content and not paying for it?
If Facebook and Google and all the social media companies want to write me a check every year for my newsroom budget, I'll provide them all my news for free. I'll provide it to everybody for free. But if they're going to give me little increments of money, I've got to get subscribers to pay for my news. So I just think, if they pay some nominal amount, and a nominal amount can be millions and millions of dollars to them, but to the newsroom budgets of America, it's nominal.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say about that.
Right.
Let me tell you one last thing. I think the print model is just almost doomed because of the heavy costs associated with. So print is not working for newspapers. The website model, if you look at this study that was done by Iris Chai,
Dr. Chai, I know her well.
She came out. She's done a number of studies, but she came out with one in March. And yes. she looked at the top 50 newspapers. I know you're familiar with it. I'm not sure all your readers are. But
we published it. We had it in the magazine. Yeah.
And so she talks about that has not been successful.
No.
And that's what everyone has pursued. And it's not been successful for one reason. She says people look at it as an inferior product.
That's true.
And so they don't charge as much for it. Now, the Boston Globe, to their credit, they're charging $1 a day or $30 a month, which is close to what we're charging. And they believe what we believe. If you can't get about $30 a month, you can't do the journalism that you need to do to be of great value to your subscribers and to be sustainable. So charging $5 or $10 a month for a website, you're not gonna be able to provide the quality that you need to thrive and survive.
I remember the INMA funded her first study, and they called it The Inconvenient Truth, because Dr. Chai, she's Chinese background, said that she said that we were treating the print product like ramen noodles, and we were treating the web product like steak. And we ended up calling it you got to reverse that, because you're giving away your news and you're not making the money and you're not increasing. That's the other thing. We weren't increasing our reach. we weren't reaching the new subscribers that we thought we were going to get. So I think it's time for all of us just to go back to core competencies, if I may editorialize for a second, and do what you're doing. Either do quality journalism or open up at McDonald's. I mean, it's one or the other. And if it takes money to finance it, then be innovative. Well, we're going to keep an eye on you, if you don't mind, and we'll check in with you later on. If anyone wants to reach out to you, obviously your website is, the website itself is, isn't it, it's Arkansas Democrat-Gazette?
It's arkansasonline.com.
arkansasonline.com. Would you give us your email address, sir? So anyone
Yeah, it's my initials, WH at arkansasonline.com.
Honored to have you. Thank you so much for all you're doing for the industry, and please stay healthy. We need you to keep going for many, many, many more years to come.
Well, thanks for the interview.